It's happening. Right now. Right now. It's happening. You are judging me. Not that I care about what your judgments are, but if I could ask you to please suspend those judgments for the next 20 minutes or so, and then, if you'd like to go back to your initial judgment, feel free to do so. But perhaps by then, you may have found a different perspective. I'd like to start off this afternoon by bringing a few of you up here in front of the group to answer the question, what is your deepest, darkest fear? Let's start with, did you get it? Did you get the clench when I said that? Did your stomach tighten and your butt cheeks clench? How many of you were thinking, oh my God, I hope he doesn't pick me? Come on, hands up, be brave. Well, the fact of the matter is I'm not going to be picking anyone, so you can all take a deep breath and relax. It was merely just an exercise to show you that we all have some level of fear, especially when it comes to something like public speaking. Some people in this room, in fact, too afraid to even raise a hand for fear of being singled out, while others unwilling to admit that they even have fear. One of the most common challenges that I find in my private coaching and in my workshops is people's failure to admit, even to themselves, that they even have fear that may be holding them back. How many of you would be willing to admit that there may be a little bit of fear down there that could be holding you back from success in your business? Well, for those of you with your hands up, I appreciate your honesty. But how would it make you feel if I were to tell you that most of what you've ever been afraid of had been made up? It's true. 99% of everything you've ever worried about never happened. And the 1% that you think happened didn't happen the way you thought it would. And you survived every single bit of it. How do I know that? Because you're here. Have you ever wondered why young children always seem to be so happy? It's because they don't have a file in their head titled All the Things That Could Go Wrong. You see, as adults, positivity becomes a choice. I used to work for a large communications company, and I have to tell you, it was the most toxic, negative, and fearful environment that I've ever been associated with. Have you ever worked in a negative environment? Yes. How did it make you feel? Well, I'll tell you how I was feeling. Absolutely exhausted. I would expend all of my energies trying to raise the emotions of the people around me. But by Friday, I was done. And that feeling of exhaustion reminded me of a time years before when I was surfing in Hawaii. It was a beautiful Hawaiian day. 86 degrees Fahrenheit, nice offshore breeze holding up the big winter swells, and I'm cruising along on this perfect wave when I lost my focus, wiped out, went into the water. As I came back up to the surface to catch my breath, wham! I got trounced by another huge wave. Imagine getting hit across the chest with a 2x4. That's what it felt like. And this big wave pushed me back under and into what is known as the washing machine, where you spin around and around and around, and you don't know which way is up, and you desperately need to take a breath. and your body's becoming extremely fatigued, and you know that there's a coral reef under there about to rip you to shreds, and you also know that it's a long way to swim to shore if you're bleeding because there's sharks in the water. These were all of the thoughts going through my head in that instant. And then I remembered my training. Stay positive and relax. Because if you try to fight that big wave, you're not going to win. So I made my way back up to the surface where I took a huge deep breath, looked up, and felt very fortunate that there wasn't another huge wave about to push me back under. So I paddled my way back to shore, and I sat down on the beach, and I was physically, mentally, and spiritually exhausted. Have you ever felt like that before? Yep. And it was this same feeling of exhaustion that I was now experiencing because of this job. I would get home on Friday afternoon, basically sleep away the entire weekend, and then get up on Monday morning and do it all over again. I don't know what I was thinking, but I could feel myself starting to slip. Random, negative thoughts started to pop into my head. And then random, negative comments started to come out of me. And I got to a point where I just had to stop and ask myself, what do you have to be believing in order to be feeling that way? And I realized right then what was happening. It was such a toxic environment that the negativity was actually dragging me down and pushing me under like that big wave had done years before. I knew right then that I had to get out. Why? Because positivity is a choice. There's a great analogy that says being positive is like climbing up the side of a mountain, and being negative is like sliding down the other side. It's very easy to be negative. And there's a reason for this. We get bombarded with information all day long. I read a study a few months ago that says our brains take in over 1 million words a day. 1 million words a day. And what the oldest part of our brain, the amygdala, does is grab hold of all of that negative information and brings it to our attention. Think of it as an early warning system that points out potential threats to our survival. Our survival. That's how deeply rooted negativity is in our brains. Why is this important to us? Why? Because positivity is a choice, and positivity helps to overcome fear. Let me ask you a question. Why would you, or anyone else that you know, join one of those pyramid scams where one person makes all the money and you end up with nothing, except maybe a garage full of product? Well, if you've been around network marketing for any length of time, you've heard that question or similar question probably many times. But my question to you is, how does that question make you feel? Does it make you squirm when you hear it? Does it make you get defensive and you have to defend yourself? Or does it make you just want to give up and quit? Especially when you hear it over and over and over again from your friends and family. And why do you think you feel that way? It's because you're afraid of what other people might think and say about you. Oh, you're one of them, a network marketer. Would it surprise you to learn that 97% of people that join network marketing companies fail? It's not the network marketing business model that fails. People fail themselves. They quit. Why do they quit? Fear. Fear of criticism, fear of rejection, fear of poverty, fear of failure, fear of success, all of which are very valid fears that many people struggle with. But in my research, I have found that the number one most common fear that people face in network marketing is the fear of being judged. Or as psychologists call it, social anxiety disorder. The fear of being negatively evaluated by others, which can lead to feelings of inadequacy, embarrassment, humiliation, and even depression. And as I look around the room, I wonder how many of you have ever struggled with those emotions before. So the fear of being judged. If we go back to my opening comments about you judging me, do you think that I care about what your judgments are?
Oh, hell
no. Do you think that I would be afraid to walk into a room full of strangers and deliver a presentation? No. Do you think that I care what other people might think and say about me? No. But what about you? Who do your clients see when you step up to do a presentation in front of them? Do they see someone brimming with self-confidence? Or do they see that lisping little boy who was beat up in elementary school? Or the chubby little girl that never left the classroom at lunchtime for fear of being teased? You see, many of us carry around these old judgments in our subconscious, and they lead to self-limiting beliefs which control our actions. Every time you succumb to the judgment of another person, you're essentially telling your subconscious that their opinion is more valid than the value that you feel for yourself as a person. That's a terrible place to be. And if we let that fear of being judged go unchallenged, it leads to self-doubt. Self-doubt. I can't. I'm no good at that. I always screw things up. And self-doubt leads to procrastination. I don't really feel like making that call this week. It's getting kind of late. I'll phone them next week. And procrastination leads to complacency. That's just how it is. At least we still have a roof over our head. And complacency leads to more fear and more self-doubt and more procrastination, and we begin this terrible downward spiral, which I call the fear cycle. We need to break that fear cycle. Let me give you a little introduction to that. 3 keys. Number 1, I know that some of the people in this room may find this hard to believe, but it's not about you. Whenever someone casts a judgment upon you, it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with their preconceived notions of how you should be. 2, you need to become self-aware. Self-aware that you are judging others every single day. And every time you judge another person, it perpetuates that cycle of judgment. If you judge a person on their clothing, then you will expect to be judged on your clothing. Tip here would be, dress for success. And number 3, and if you don't write anything else down today, please write this down. The less you judge others, the less you will expect to be judged by others, and the freer you will feel. I'll repeat that for you. The less you judge others, the less you will expect to be judged by others, and the freer you will feel. Imagine the freedom of living without the fear of judgment. I'd like you to close your eyes for a minute and just imagine that it's 1 year from now, June 11th, 2017. And you have spent the last 365 days without the fear of judgment. Maybe even without the fear of anything at all. How does your business look? What rank have you achieved? What's your monthly income? How many people's lives have you helped to change for the better? Now open your eyes. How does that feel? Feels good, right? Feels good. So now I wonder, how many of you will go back to your initial judgment about me, or how many of you just may have found a different perspective? Right now, it's happening.
You're still pretty groovy.
I know. Spoken like a true gentleman. So can I ask you all to please raise your hands in the air? I want to rock and roll all night and party every day. Have you ever been to see a live Kiss concert before? All right. Well, back in 1976, I went to see a live Kiss concert in Vancouver. Now, I know what some of you ladies might be thinking. There's no way he was even born in 1976, let alone old enough to go to a concert. And for those of you thinking that way right now, bless your hearts. However, I was there. Tickets for the Kiss concert in 1976 were $6.50. Fortunately for me, I had a good summer job away from high school, and I was earning $6.50 an hour, so I could afford to buy a ticket. Well, we went to the show, and it was absolutely mesmerizing, the likes of which we had never, ever before seen. The makeup, the incredible costumes, the light show, the pyrotechnics, the hydraulic stage. Peter Criss's drum riser goes up 30 feet in the air and he's doing this wicked solo and there's fireworks spinning off his cymbal stand. We were completely blown away. So fast forward 35 years. Some days it actually feels like it's gone that fast. I was working as a territory manager for an animal health supply company, and I happened to be working this day in Prince George. I was on my way to my first appointment, and I was driving past the arena. And on the big sign out front, it said, "Kiss tonight!" And then June 29th, which happens to be my birthday. And I thought to myself, what are the chances? Kiss playing in Prince George on my birthday. I'm here by myself. I have to go. So I pull my car into the parking lot, and I get out, and as I'm walking across the parking lot, I'm thinking to myself, well, you know, the concert is tonight. There's probably a good chance it's sold out. But I'll go in and check anyways. So I walk into the ticket office, and I go up to the lady behind the counter and ask, do you have any tickets left for tonight's show? And she says, as a matter of fact, we do have a few tickets left. I said, excellent. So I pull up my Visa card, boom, slap it down on the counter. She punches all the information in, hands me back my card, and then she hands me my ticket and says, I hope you enjoy the show. I said, thanks, it's my birthday, it's gonna be awesome. And she says, well, happy birthday. And once again, I hope you enjoy the show. I said, thanks. So I'm walking out to my car, feeling on top of the world. Look down at my ticket, $194. $175 plus handling fees. For those of you numbers people out there, that's a 2,692% increase. So then I thought to myself, well, let's see, back in 1976, when tickets were $6.50, I was earning $6.50 an hour. So if my wages have gone up concurrently with the ticket prices, I should be earning, right, $175 an hour. Well, sadly, I wasn't. Have you ever had that gut-wrenching feeling that you're being held back from success by your own fears? I did. So anyway, I went to the show that night, and it was incredibly uplifting for me just to see these guys out there just giving it their all 35 years later. I'm not sure if many of you are familiar with Gene Simmons, the leader of KISS. Okay, maybe you are. But Gene's net worth is somewhere around $300 million. I tell you this to make this point. Gene really didn't need the money to be playing that gig in Prince George that night. They were out there because they love what they do and they're passionate about it. On my way back to the hotel that night, I said to myself, Dave, you're never going to be earning $175 an hour or more if you're not doing something that you love and that you're passionate about. They inspired me that night to crush my fear and rock my success, to step out of my comfort zone of just paying the bills in a job that I didn't really like, and to find and follow. Find what my true passion was and follow it through until I had achieved the level of success that I wanted to achieve. And I have to tell you, I came to the realization a couple of years ago that it wasn't about earning $175 an hour. My love and my true passion is to help other people to overcome those gut-wrenching fears that are holding them back so that they can live happier and more successful lives. Hopefully, I can inspire you to crush your fear and rock your success.